our guest is Lane Jordan.
We don't have to be gourmet cooks to be successful feeding our children physically and emotionally.
Convictions must be strong. Pierce the darkness with the light as you go along. Living with one foot in heaven, breaking the enemy's power. In the strength of Jesus we can stand in the darkest hour. Living with one foot in heaven, ready when he calls our name. For believers to live is Christ, to die is only gain.
Welcome to Heritage of Truth. Today our guest is Lane Jordan. Now Lane is a new friend of mine and she is a very organized lady. That's not something that I claim. So why don't you tell us a little more about what you do, Lane?
I would love to, Jean. I think it's because I don't want to lose anything that I became organized. I started off as a little girl just helping Mama straighten up the den or straighten up things. But I feel like God's given each one of us a bent towards a certain way. And for some reason, I'm just bent that way. Now, I don't clean all the time. I'm not one of those when I go and do workshops or speak on my books, I don't tell people to clean with a toothbrush because that's a waste of time. My passion is how can I help women get through what they have to get done so that they're open for what's important in life. And to me, what's important in life is to have enough time for God, their husbands, their children, and or their work. If we're losing our keys, if we can't get the laundry done, if we're unable to get to the grocery store to cook for our family, we are missing a mission field. Because our mission field, if you're single, your mission field is your sisters and brothers in that family, your neighbors, your work people. If you're married, now it's your husband and children, and then your extended family. So we all have a mission field, and we truly cannot minister to this mission field if we're not organized. If a neighbor or a family member gets sick or goes to the hospital or someone moves into your neighborhood, I always encourage, have things in your freezer already made that you can take to them. You can make gifts at Christmas that doesn't cost so much. So that's my passion, and I believe truly that we need to be organized so that we can have more time. And so, because of that, someone told me I was speaking already for Christian women's clubs in MOPS groups, and they were saying, giving my testimony, and someone said, you need to write a book so that you can speak more. And I remember sitting there thinking, what can I write a book on? And she said, Lane, organization, because I was sort of known for being organized. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I guess I could, but I don't want it to come from Lane. I want it to come from God. So Proverbs 31 is the largest amount of scripture dedicated to women. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I'll base the book on Proverbs 31, which I did. And the book was published, and it's called 12 Steps to Becoming a More Organized Woman, based on Proverbs 31. And so that book is still in print. It's in its 9th or 10th printing. And the publisher asked me to come out and do, it's so funny, I had more material for my chapter 9, which was how to be a more organized mom. Mm-hmm. So they said, you have so much information, now write a book on how to be a more organized mom. So I did. And then when I go speak, so many of the moms, I always say, what's the hardest part of your day? And they all say that evening meal. Because the hardest for me.
Oh, absolutely.
I can cook, but I don't want to go in there at 5 in the afternoon and try to figure it out. Of course, that's one of the tips. And so I wrote a book, 12 Steps to Becoming a More Organized Cook.
Okay, give us a couple of tips for the mother who's got toddlers running around,
so hard,
fighting with each other, getting it underfoot, and she's got to put dinner on the table.
You already know what it's going to be when you wake up, which means the key to organization is planning. So what I would do is I sat down on Sundays with my coupons. The kids might be watching Walt Disney or something, and I'm cutting out my coupons and planning my weekly recipes. And you ask your children, especially when you have teenagers, or if you have a husband traveling, who's going to be home. You figure out the nights people are going to be home. You figure out your menu, and then just have a few stacks. I have a small stack of 15 to 20 recipes that we all love. You just flip through it. You figure out what you're going to have that week. You always double, so you have leftovers. And so when 5 o'clock comes, you already know what you're going to make. And you've got to cook for the family. Another tip I give is...
I'm sorry, what do you mean by cook for the family?
Okay, you've got to have food on the table for the family because you are providing emotional love for them when you cook for them.
Oh, I see.
It is crucial, and they say the family that eats together, a huge statistic, a third of those children will be less getting into drugs, less alcohol, and less promiscuous sex if they eat together as a family. But I also share, you are responsible for that evening meal, but you don't have to cook it. So if you've got a busy day, you're coming in from work, or you're picking up Johnny from soccer and Susie from ballet, go pick up some healthy pre-made chicken. I like to get a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store. I add a steamed broccoli, a whole wheat rice, and a salad, and you've got a meal in 10-15 minutes. So we're responsible for having our family eat together and healthy, and you have to plan when that's going to happen. But you might necessarily not have the time to cook it all, but we've got to keep it going. So that's why I did the cookbook, and every time, even if I don't speak on the cookbook, it sells everywhere I go.
And what's the name of the cookbook?
Same title, 12 Steps to Becoming a More Organized Cook. And it's so funny, obviously you can see I enjoy talking, I get excited, and throughout the whole cookbook I have a little chef hat, and I'm talking through the cookbook, giving tips about the previous recipe, or this is something easy to do. Go get Stouffer's frozen lasagna and add a salad. You have a quick meal for company real quickly. You can get the huge sizes. We don't have to be gourmet cooks to be successful feeding our children physically and emotionally.
And you also mentioned guests, so that's hospitality. The Bible tells us to practice hospitality.
Thank you, Jean. It does. And I hear women will come up to me after a conference. Well, I don't want to have anybody in. I don't know how to cook. And my sofa's shabby. Let me tell you, people just want to be invited.
Yes.
I mean, when people invite me for dinner, I don't have to cook. I am so excited. They're not looking at your sofa. They're looking at your heart and your acceptance of them and a nice meal together around a table. That's the early church. That's how early Christians ministered to each other. And in my Woman and Mom book, I actually explain what to do about the shabby sofa.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could just put a blanket over it and tuck
Well,
it in.
you do. Or you put fresh pillows. You can go, I shop sometimes at Goodwill, especially when my children were going on mission trips. We would get some, wouldn't have to wear long dresses. Or I bought a pocketbook there before, or pillows, or go to Target, my Target, or Walmart. You can find nice decorative pillows. But one of the tips I have in my woman book, in my mom 12-step mom book, is get a pad of paper and a pen and come through your front door like a guest and look at your foyer. And you're going to walk through each room in your house, and with the pad of paper, you're going to look at each room and you're going to go, well, does this room to be cleaned, organized, decorated, or is it just okay the way it is? And lots of times, you might just need a little plant on a table. And then your people that you're inviting into your home, they feel welcomed. And then you go into the family room, and if your sofa's shabby, again, like you mentioned, put a blanket or a throw on it. You can even get one of your scarves and throw it over. One of the woolen scarves that we like to wear, and some pillows. Well, I don't have time to clean the whole house. No, but you can have the foyer, the family room, and the half bath. You wipe it down in 10 seconds and put fresh toilet paper, fresh soap, and a clean towel.
And just close the other doors.
Close the other doors.
Yeah.
Ladies, don't close up in your home. And I've seen this happen too many times. I'm so glad, Jean, you mentioned hospitality. Why would God put that in the Bible if He didn't want us to do that? We're supposed to reach out to other people. And you might say, but I can't go to Africa as a missionary. God's not calling you to go to Africa as a missionary. Again, He's calling you to your realm of influence. Your immediate family, your husband and immediate family, and then your extended family. And then your neighbors, your friends, and people at your church. Then your community. Then your city, state, country, and the world. And if we all did what God's calling us to, people are going to be ministered to. Which brings me back to my passion. You cannot minister to your family or others. You cannot be the woman that God's created you to be if you don't have your act together. And you have to be organized to get your act together. And I write, and you're going to laugh at this, Jeanne, but I pretty much have to get my chores done. I get up and I make my bed, I straighten up, I have breakfast, I try to sit down and have my quiet time, I answer phone calls, I get and answer emails, I kind of get situated, and then around 1 o'clock, I have lunch, and I do lunch for my husband because he works from the house, and around 1 o'clock, I sit down, and now I start working. And I have found if I try to work first thing in the morning, I'm getting interrupted thinking, oh, well, I still need to do such and such. And this is mamas with toddlers, do what you have to get done first. The laundry, prepare the evening meal if you want. Sometimes I'll start my crock pot in the first thing in the morning.
Okay.
I do phone calls, I do ministry, I might get in the car and do an errand. But around 1 o'clock, I sit down and then I do my work. Same thing with you. Get your job done in the morning, young moms. This is what I did. I put the baby down for a nap. Then I could do that household project or get my nap or start writing on my book. Whatever your goal is, that's when you can do it. Because once the children come in from school, don't think you've got time, because you don't.
Well, you need to be
With them.
with them, yeah.
I got frustrated. I used to think, well, I got to write. I'm going, no, Lane, switch it around. You do your ministry or your work or your painting project or whatever project you've got while they're at school or while they're napping. When the children come home, you stop, and you do for them. You do that evening meal, which is so crucial to the health of a family.
Absolutely.
It's so crucial. Well, what about me? Well, what about you? That comes in about another 10 or 15 years. And
But when you have that relationship with your children, it does give back to
it
you.
gives back.
Yes.
And you know, I have grown daughters, and when they each turned 21, I said, oh, thank goodness, now we can be friends. Because let me tell you, girlfriend, you are not friends with that child, especially a teenager. You're the mother, you're the disciplinarian, you are to be authoritative, you are to study God's Word and get wisdom of how to raise this child. Then when they hit 21 and or out of college, and so now my adult daughters are my best friends.
Yeah.
And it's all reaping back. But I hear, and I do have a chapter in both of my 12 Steps Woman book and 12 Steps Mom book of repairing and restoring your soul. And you have to take time for yourself. But I am meaning take a nap, do a hobby, have a best friend.
Spend time in the Word.
Spend time in God's Word.
That's
on
right.
your knees. You don't spend more time away from your home base. And that's what God's calling us to do, is our ministry.
Now, you have a book that's going to help us get through the Christmas, Thanksgiving season.
Yes.
The holiday season. It's
Yes.
called 12 Steps to Having a More Organized Christmas and Holiday Seasons. And I think you all will really get some benefit out of this. I know that the holiday season, the older I've gotten, the harder it has been for me to be organized. I thought that once
Me too.
I had an empty nest, it would be easier, but it's actually become harder because I'm more involved in ministry type things.
Yes.
I'm working more.
too.
And so it's much harder, and that's one of the biggest times for hospitality.
It
So can
is.
you give us 3 tips?
I'll be happy to give 3 tips. And let me tell you where I came upon the idea for this book. I was up in my attic getting something in June of a year. And I looked over to where all my Christmas boxes, all my Christmas decorations were packed away. And I thought, oh no, only 6 more months and I have to go through all of them. And I thought, that's not how Christ wants me to prepare for His birthday, which is the greatest thing that ever happened. When Christ redeemed me and saved my life, it is the greatest joy in my life, and I would not have
Absolutely.
had that if He had not been a Christmas present to me from God the Father. And I started feeling bad and started talking to people. And as I started writing the outline, a friend said, what are you writing on? And I said, well, this is what I think might be my new project. I gave her the title, How to Have a More Organized Christmas and Holiday Season. And she said, oh, I hate Christmas. And I went, oh my goodness. And she said, I don't want to, but it has gotten out of hand. And I said, I'm going to keep writing this book. And so talking to empty nesters like yourself and me and other people, I'm finding out, see, 50 years ago it wasn't this way, but
No.
through the years with advertisements and bigger malls and bigger stores, people don't just have a little tree, they have 10 trees. So it's gotten out
I've never
of
known anyone
hand.
with 10.
Oh, I have.
Really?
Oh, yes. And just all these decorations in my neighborhood. Everybody fights about what they're going to do for the outside. It's gotten out of hand. And the goal and purpose of this book, it's really a passion in my heart, is that you will read it and feel free to decorate how you want to. If you want a tiny little tree, have a tiny little tree. If your emphasis wants to be on a gigantic nativity scene, that's where your emphasis is. My goal in the book is to help women have freedom from what society says we have to do to decorate. So that
we shouldn't be taking our cues from society anyway.
Well, we shouldn't, but I have to
Yeah.
give a confession. My mom won't see this, so I can say it. She decorates her house like Southern Living, and I have been stressed all my life, and she uses real tree limbs, and what are they called? I don't even know what they're called, for her mantle and for the chandelier. She uses the real bows instead of, I use the artificial. And she has it everywhere, and she changes all her white candles to red, and I can't handle the stress. So I started using artificial and was criticized for that. And then I said, no, that helps me get through the season. I've decorated, but it's not making me weary. And so the tips that you asked for is, first of all, plan. Plan. Do you even want to decorate for Christmas? Are you going to even have Christmas in your home this year? Thanksgiving. If you're having Thanksgiving at your home, are you having Christmas at your daughter's or at your family's? Plan first. If you're going to be out of town, you really don't need to go through that effort. Second is, you need to see what are the traditions and the memories that your family wants to have. One year I was planning on this special memory. You know, they tell us to give our children all these memories and it about kills us. And I asked my daughter, I said, well, I'm thinking about doing this. And she said, well, I don't want to do that this Christmas. I want to do this other plan. If I had not asked her, I would have spent all my time and energy on this instead of this. And like today, I don't even remember what it was. But I remember being so surprised. So first you have to plan. Second, you have to ask your family as well as yourself, what traditions and memories do you want? And third, make everything mean something for you. If you want a 12-foot tree, then go get it. I have a chart in the book where you literally put down the how much effort is this going to take for you to go get a 12-foot tree. Well, it's, from 1 to 10, it's going to be about a 9 or a 10 to figure out how to get it home. But what is the outcome? What is the joy? Oh, it's going to be a 10. So you multiply 10 by 10, well, that's 100. You're going to do that. But if one of the things the family wants to do is, let's say they want to go to a tree farm and get a real tree, well, the effort's a 10, but the joy of driving 2 or 3 hours to get a real tree, and then it comes back, and you have to spray it for bug spray because it has all those little beetles and everything. Well, the joy is only a 1 or 2, and you're going to multiply 10 by 2, it's 20. No, you're not going to do that. I think the chart really, really helps. And people are able to then see. So those are the 3 tips that, out of the 12 tips, out of the 12 steps to having them organized Christmas and holiday seasons. And I also emphasize your summer seasons, Thanksgiving and Easter. And I really pray that it will help mothers, working women, single women in these crucial times that are important in our life, but they shouldn't bog us down.
What's your website?
Yes, let me give my website. It's, of course, www.lanejordanministries.com, and that's LANEJORDAN, then spell ministries, plural.com. I also write a blog, a weekly blog, which you can connect at either place, but it's called pathwaystoorganization.com is my blog site. And I'm a professional certified life coach, so I do life coaching. And I'd love for you to reach me at any of these places and let me be a part of your life. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us.
For believers to live